In this tutorial we're going to look at how to use things called if statements, which you can use with your microbit to make it listen to things like the buttons and listen to movement and lots of really cool stuff like that. So it allows us to make decisions in our program. In order to understand if statements, what I've done is I've written on the Born to Code pages on week 3 a nice little example of a non-existent programming language just here, and we're going to use that to get the idea of how these if statements work. Let's look at my program. The way I wanted it to work was to give advice on what to do if you were feeling a bit peckish. So what I'd like to have happen is it's going to ask the user how hungry they are, and then based on what they say, it's going to give some advice. So let's look at how I sort of wrote that in my pseudo code, my non-existent code. Let's see how I did that. I started off by setting up a variable which I called hunger level, and I said that hunger level is going to be the result of collecting input from the user. We're going to say to them from 0 to 10, how hungry are you, and then we'll collect their response. They might type in 10, and then we'll store that in hunger level. So in this example I'm using right now, we might say that hunger level was worth 10. So the code then runs on to the next line in the program. So we bump into this lump just here. This is called an if block. Okay, this is called an if block, and what we've got is a set of instructions to help the computer make a decision as to what to do next. And so the computer starts at the top and it tries to match the circumstances we're in to one of these sets of statements. So let's have a look and see how we do. So the first one says, right, well, if the hunger level is exactly 10, okay, if it's exactly 10, then we're going to print out eat a proper dinner. And then what you can do is you can come out of the if block and then you carry on down the way afterwards. So I've only got one more command. So if I had chosen 10, this would match. So I'd get eat a proper dinner, and then it would jump out of the if block and then print thank you for using the food guide, and the program would continue. What if I hadn't? What if I'd said something else? What if I typed in 9 instead? So the hunger level would be worth 9. We come to this first statement, is the hunger level 10? Although 9 isn't 10, so we won't do that. So it'll then move on to the next stage and it'll try and match something there. So it says else if the hunger level is greater than 5, if 9 is greater than 5. Well, 9 is greater than 5, so under that circumstances it would say, right, we've got a match, that's true, so I'm going to print out go and eat a sandwich, and then I exit the if block because I've made a match now, and then I print thank you for using the food guide. So that would work like that. Let's try one more. What if I typed in -2 instead, or 0 or 1? What would happen then? Let's try that. So I'd collect the answer. Let's go with 0. And I typed in 0, so hunger level is 0. So it would say, right, is 0 the same as 10? Well, no, it's not. Okay, well, if that's not the case, is 0 greater than 5? No, it's not. Okay, is 0 greater than 2? No, it's not. And then finally at the end I've used this else statement, which means basically if that's not the case, and that's not the case, and that's not the case, then what I want you to do is this instead. So it falls back to wait until later. So it would print out the words wait until later. It would then come out the if block, say thank you for using the food guide, and the program would continue on. That's the basic idea of using if statements, and you can do that with all sorts of different things. You can compare numbers to numbers, you could compare strings, text and writing as well. You won't do that in this microbit unit though, all sorts of different things. So let's just look at one more example, then we'll move forward. What I've done in Scratch is I've written another program, which is going to be an age comparing program. And hopefully this will feel familiar. I've said that when the green flag is clicked, I've got a forever loop. That's this. That's going to keep doing this over and over and over until the end of time. Then the cat's going to ask, what's your age? And then it'll wait for you to answer. Whatever the answer is, we'll store in a variable that we made called your age. And then what we do is we say that if your age is over 21, then we're going to tell the user that they're very old for 2 seconds. Otherwise, if their age is under 21, or if it's not greater than 21, then it'll say you're very youthful and happening. It'll wait 2 seconds, and then it'll say next please for 2 seconds and go back to the top of the program. We'll have a quick test just to make sure it works. Green flag clicked. What's your age? I'm going to put in 50 for me and hit go. Boop. You're very old. Very helpful. Next please. There it is. And then we're back to the top of the program again, and you can see that 50 is stored as your age. Very nice. So what I then did is I wrote the equivalent program in Python, which is the language that we're using at the moment on our microbit. So let's take a quick look at that. Here's the equivalent programs side by side in Python. Let's see if we can spot any similarities. I'll just go through this line by line for you. Import time, I just had to use that so I can get my 2-second delays, otherwise Python wouldn't know how to do it, so we don't need to worry too much about that. What have we got next? We've then got this line here, this while true, and you'll notice that all the lines that come after it are all indented like we spoke about before. While true is the equivalent of this forever loop. Just here, this forever shape that we set up in Scratch, okay? That's that bit just there. And the fact that all these lines that come after it are all indented, that's the equivalent of me putting these shapes inside the forever loop, okay? If, for example, I'd put this print next please, and I'd popped that to the left, then that would be a little bit like taking this in Scratch and plonking it down there. I can't glue that on because you'll never do that command, but it would be the equivalent of doing something a little bit like that. Okay, that's what's happening there. But if I want that to be part of what happens inside that forever loop, I have to have that tabbed in like so. Okay, let's move on. So I then did the ask what's your age and weight. That's this line here. So I said your age equals an input of how old are you. This int bit just here, let's not worry about that too much today. You'll bump into that in a future unit. But suffice to say, that stores your age, so that's where I type in 50. And then I've got my if statement, so if your age is over 21, if your age is over 21, then print a message, wait 2 seconds, there's else, and there's else. So again, you can sort of recognize, hopefully looking at this, that it's very, very similar actually. It sits very, very neatly from one language to the next. One of the things I've just spotted, the only difference I've got, I don't know if you spotted this, is that after saying next please, I didn't include a 2-second pause before I moved on. But this program here is this program here, and I can run this program and get the same set of results. Let's have a look. So just quickly save. Here it is, and right, how old are you? I'll do the same thing as before, say 50, I'll go 60 this time, I'm getting a bit older. You're very old, wait 2 seconds, next please, wait 2 seconds, and prompt again for how old are you, and I could type something else in there and get different results each time. So that's the first part, that's the idea of using conditionals in Python and in coding in general.